So, just like when I paint, I like to work dark to light. And the reason being, generally, what's very dark is receding. It's farther away, it's in a hole, like in the dark spot in his ear, or where he's in shadow. Our light in this image is sort of coming from the left, and so like his back will be a little darker. He's a little lit up on the crest of his chest and shoulder. So I can use my dark that I made, and I think for the fox I'm gonna put a little bit more brown and the dark brown, a little bit of the brown, dark brown mohair in there. So I'm just taking a little bit of that and a little bit more of my brown silk. I'll throw a little bit of green silk in there too. It's just so deep and beautiful. Okay, and then I'm just with my hands, I'm gonna pull it apart and restack it. And that's how you blend by hand. Pull it apart from the ends and restack it. Now, I don't need my darks to be super defined because they're just shadows. When we get in, as we build up on the fox, we're going to need lights in very specific places. So I'm going to do a lot more cutting. But I'm going to take these darks and I'm going to go on the back of the shoulder here. Maybe go this direction. So I'm getting that shoulder, some darkness on that shoulder bump. I'm going to go down on his butt here, which kind of sort of just mixes in towards the greenery a little bit. I'm going to go inside his ear. Let me get a little bit more black in that because that really is very dark. And then maybe just right in this little corner of his leg here. So basically I'm squinting my eyes, looking at the reference picture and seeing where some darks are and getting a little bit of dark wool down there. To proceed from here, we want to make a medium and a light. So we have our little dark blend. We want to make a really foxy chestnut blend.
We see your head. Sorry.
So that I can start putting all those beautiful chestnut colors on. So I'm going to use some brown silk, and I'll just do this by hand so you can practice that. I'm using the rust. Definitely going to put some of my mohairs in here. Got this chestnutty mid-tone one, maybe a little bit of this golden one. And I just take this stack of fiber, mix it up.
Coming from somebody who does not paint, it feels so odd when you think a fox is orange and white to put in the darker blend.
Green and
this
purple
makes sense,
and
but
yeah, this is a pretty straightforward color here.
But the others, like the one that you'll make that's kind of gray,
yeah,
you got to do it. That's what makes it foxy. Don't doubt. Don't doubt, Sarah.
All right, so here's our general fox chestnut. Okay, we're going to just set that right there. Now we're going to make a light one. So wherever got highlights. He's not this color anymore. He's this color in the sun. So we're going to use the rust again. Let's use the lighter mohairs. Mohairses. We'll use these mohairses. We'll use a little bit of this honey. We'll use a little bit of this tangerine. I don't think I'm going to use this Marrakesh right here. I feel like this, well, I'll just do a tiny bit. It's a little muted. And let's do some Dune silk. That's your nice, you can put a little bit of the saffron too. Whew, so pretty. So exciting. Just by hand, we're going to pull and restack. Taking the time to blend, we learned this when we were felting together last week. Yeah. Taking the time to blend a few colors, it is key. This is going to be like, you're going to be so happy to have it when you, and then when you're needle felting too, at the end, like just to be like, oh, I mixed that already, and like to have this. All right, I need to do one without the rust in there, because that, it's light, but it's still, we're going to do one with just the honey, the tangerine, some white. This is going to be a really nice light one. Maybe a little bit of Dune. I'm getting low on Dune. I want to save a tiny bit. Some parts of the fox are pretty white. Most of him is a little bit gray.
Yeah, there was a lot more gray than I expected.
Don't use too much pure white on him. That's a nice bright color. All right. It's amazing how much you can wet felt in this in detail. He's got a punch of chestnut on his back, and I'm keeping it a little messy, and I'm just kind of letting it overlap the dark a little bit. Other than that, it's like maybe a little bit right here behind his head, at the back of his head, and on the crest of his shoulder. If you keep it thin, then you're going to see some of the dark through it. And then as we get onto his butt area here, he actually gets pretty grayed out. So I'm going to take a little bit of my chestnut. I'm going to take some of my brown, and then a little bit of my ash and sea mist, and just make almost like a heathered, sort of more natural browny gray that they get on their butt. And in the reference photo, his fur is like, you know, obviously sticking off of his body. So you get all these little dark, you know, dark areas in between where the fur is coming up. And that's a little tricky to do, but if you cut this fiber instead of just lay it on whole, then you can kind of arrange it to look like that. So I'll show you.
Do you want the snips?
Here they are, here they are. Didn't see them. All right, so if I just cut myself, don't cut myself. I'm cutting like 1/2-inch chunks of this blend. So instead of like laying fiber like this, I'm opening it up. And that makes it look a little bit more like you know, like you're getting that fur effect. So I can do that with this too. So get a little bit of that chestnut doing that. It's got a pretty good bit of chestnut in his tail here. It's coming across this way.
The way that purple works is pretty remarkable. You would not think, let me throw some purple onto my fox.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then he gets a little lighter where his tail is being hit by the sunlight. So I'm going to do the cutting technique because I want it to look really furry. And silk is just like, it is such a great highlighter.
Well, we see your head, but not what you're doing. Thank you. Sorry.
I'm gonna grunt. I'm gonna grunt about it. Ooh, that's a little different for me. Sometimes I run out of words.
You're looking pretty foxy.
Why, thank you. All right, I'm gonna get a few more highlights going on him before I start on the face. This is a part of that S part too. And then he's got a nice little light spot on his rib cage here.
So right now, you are working with the reference picture up in front of you, looking for light spots.
Definitely.
Just so people know what's happening here.
Yeah, definitely. I've got Hush and Amber, the two lights, mixed together. It just makes a really soft, subtle light. It's not white. It's not gray. I try to avoid having fiber going like in
Stripy.
lines. Yeah,
Because it'll look stripy when you...
it does when you
felt
felt
it.
it. I gotta mix more of my chestnut. It's kind of gone. Get some pops in a few key places. It's so bright. It's just that. Just highlight this shoulder here a little bit. Starting to kind of look like something. I love this dark shadow that's in his ruff here. So I've got my dark and I'm just breaking it down. It's a little dark, so I'm going to take some of my dark and a little bit of that grayed out brown that I made. You can like further mix your colors that you mixed and have exactly what you need. We had mixed results on felting like the nose on. I think just taking either a little bit of your dark or a little bit of straight up black, break it down a lot till it's real small, and then just, it's not, you're going to end up needle felting that basically. But just to start to delineate where it is. Same with the eye. I used my mixed dark for this back ear, but for this front ear, I do want to get a nice black line on the top of it. Just make it really come forward here. Is my head in the way?
Well, I tried to zoom in so that your head would not be in the
Thank
way,
you.
but it's still a little bit in the way. Not now, it's fine.
The pressure. The noggin pressure.
Really, it's 2 layers right now. You're working on his noggin, you're worried about your noggin. You're painting. I feel like this is the most like, kind of like pastels. Because with pastels, you just put them on. There's a little bit of blending happening, but really you're just picking the colors and putting the right colors next to each other, and that's what you're doing here. I'm gonna mix some silk, some white silk, with some white wool. I'm going to cut this silk up a little bit because it's like super duper long. So this is like the whitest white of the whole painting. And I'll just put in very select places. I select. And then this is my latest light for in terms of the fox color. I can break it down with my fingers. I can cut it. Need to blend these two together for inside the ear here.
I meant to say at the beginning of the tutorial, I meant to say it's always good to watch all the way through. See how you're using your materials. We need to put that in the in every video description. I don't like that. It needs to be darker. I need to...
So as you're working, something we found helpful was, besides stepping back, was also taking a picture.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like hold your phone up, take a picture. It just interprets everything kind of for you, and so you can see where you are and what you still need pretty well, I think. Somewhere I had these two colors mixed together. I guess I don't have it anymore. Hush and Amber are friends. They were friends in the hummingbird video as well, I think. So I'm just going to break that down a little bit for my a few little whites on the face. I'm just like almost suggesting values on the face and not getting too detailed, because you will go back and needle felt.
Oh, it's the top of Sarah's head. Sorry. You really want to see what you're doing.
I can't. I know I can't stand like this. All right, will you edit my wine out, please?
Your wine?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's part of the process. It's really an important part of the process.
There's no whining and needle felting.
There is.
All right, now that I've got his little self in place mostly, I'm going to get a little foreground going over him.
He's looking pretty handsome there.
Oh, thank you. You don't pass out the compliments too easily. I don't know about that. Not you. This what I'm doing right here. It's a little weird.
So we talked about this before, I think when you were making the 3D fox, but foxes are considered dogs.
Right.
But they have retractable claws.
Freaky.
That makes them very cat-like. What makes a cat a cat?
I didn't know they had retractable claws. Look at this gorgeous thing. Where are we putting that?
Wow.
Wow is right. That is going to go right here, like Powie.
Wild dog. I would consider it more of a cat. It's a cat dog.
I always think of them as more canines than cats. But they're cat-like. Oh, that one needs to go like that up in there. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I hope your kit has these. These exact ones.
It will have good things no matter what.
With your locks, like make sure the ends are a little bit splayed out and have a little either fuzzed out or have some wool on them.
Gray foxes in North America can climb trees. Also cat-like, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Very. Okay. Find some darky ones. This one is pretty.
Where'd that blue one go? You had the blue one.
Oh yeah. It's over here. Definitely the blue.
I really like that yarn as part of the grass too. I did not do that.
I like these rusty colored little tidbits.
Ooh. So this is another area that could take a lot of time and fussing, picking just the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to work outside where it's windy. There's a tip.
So funny. Alright, I'm going to use some of that medium green that I blended to lock down my locks. And then I need a little more dark green. I'm out on my dark. So I'm taking my medium green and some tartan and some fur. I know I still have it. Don't help me.
There was a news story about a fox that was caught in a snare for 2 weeks before it was rescued, and he couldn't escape. He only survived because his mother brought him food when he was trapped.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Oh, that's so sad.
They have a lot of intelligence when raising their young. A lot of animals would be like, nope. They like abandon the weak ones.
I feel like I have some really deep chestnut locks. Maybe what we can do, if you remember, is take a picture when I'm done laying all this out and put that in. Can you superimpose a picture into the...
I am sure that I can. I do not know how, but I will figure it out for the people.
Ooh. I don't know what's happening here, but... a little too light. I need a little deeper color.
So now he is looking more and more nestled in.
Alright, before I go any further, let's do our Queen Anne's lace. Where do you think my neps are?
They're up there.
Okay, so you have this pile of neps. You just want to take a little pile and spread them out a little bit. You don't want them to be too chunky. And then think about where you want a few flowers. So I might put like a bigger one there. I've been ending up doing 5. I usually get 1 maybe like you're seeing the edge of it, not so much straight on. So it's like skinnier. And then maybe I'll just do 3 this time. What do you think about that? 3.
I did 3.
Maybe some little,
not 5.
little sprinkles of who knows what.
I think Jenny did sprinkles. They look cool.
And then remember that white silk mix we made? You want just a very, very thin layer over your naps.
Something's got to hold them on.
Yeah. Just like you're making a little spider web over that. And then if you want to, you can use your yarn to make stems. You don't have to have stems. They could be sort of embedded, but
So you're laying in locks, but you're not putting on a ton as far as extra fiber.
extra fiber. What do you mean?
Like your first layer. She disappeared. Where did she go? Any merino you're putting on is just a kind of a light hold down layer, not real thick.
Oh yeah, just a little bit. If you have a lot of locks towards the bottom, or you just want to make sure you get that wool on there too, because they don't felt as easily. So I have this little medium dark mixture that I made, and I'll just take a little bit of it over the edge here. Oh, that just ended up there, but I like it there.
So cool.
Yeah, I might just fuss with the face a little bit, but it really is hard for me to do at this angle.
So much really can happen needle felting too.
So much can happen needle felting.
If your face looks like she has it, congratulations.
We're about ready to wet felt, Milo.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah. I added, I took little strands of the green that I mixed, and this is the straight leaf, and just pulled thin wisps and then spun them in my fingers to make a point.
Looks like tall grass.
Yeah. So that's kind of a cool thing to work in there. I didn't do that on any of my other ones. So hopefully it'll look cool. I did it with a little bit of the amber, some of that mixed color, and like I said, this is the straight leaf. And I'm keeping these sharper sharper details towards the front. Like I don't want to put a real sharp detail in what I'm trying to convey as the distance, you know. Okay, and I also wanted to show how the fox, at least in my scenario, got bigger than the template, which is okay, you know, you're just trying to keep the proportions. I feel like my head always gets a little bit big. So you can see that he's a little large relative to our template. And there's a lot of manipulation that you can do. Like you can really kind of tighten things up, scoot them around on here a little bit. Just push your wool around. It's amazing how it'll stay. Like when you wet felt, it will stay where you put it. I think in general we ended up, when we did it as a group, we ended up with like bigger noses.
My whole one went kind of splatted and got big. So the fox moved closer. But not bad. Just...
So you will need the voile, and if you have a sprinkler, that's great. And we like the just plastic, I'll show you in 1 second, like the kind of plastic pitchers that they use at restaurants. And then you just go at it. Let me gather some things and we'll start wet felting. Okay, so I put my voile over my piece. I have my sprinkler. I'm using an unscented olive oil soap, but we also have lavender. And I have my pitcher of water.
Little bit of soap? How warm?
I used hot water, and I did put some Dawn into the pitcher.
Okay.
So with the sprinkler, it's going to take me a good probably 5 full sprinklers to get this before I'm even going to like put my soapy hands on it. I love watching the image show up once it's all wet.
So flat mat's pretty thirsty.
Yeah, so that's
a good bit.
3. I'll do one more and start feeling where I am. So what I like to do is sprinkle a little, as I sprinkle, I sprinkle onto the soap and get my hands soapy. Right, so I think that was 4. And then just gently pressing down. I'm not really rubbing yet. I want to see where I need more water. So anywhere that is poofy is not saturated yet. I'm probably gonna get my head into the shot. Sometimes you'll get a lot of water in the middle and you can kind of push it to the edges, but I'm not even quite.
So that was 4 or 5?
That was 4, I think.
4.
So this will be 5. It's amazing. You can see all the crazy variation in the. So I'm concentrating these towards the edge because that's where it's the puffiest. Definitely down here is not nearly wet enough yet.
So those corners again. I could yell at you about the corners.
Yeah, the corners. So this is kind of at the stage where you have to be careful because you could pretty quickly have puddles going onto the floor. But really, I mean, we always just use a towel, and every once in a while it wants to spill out the edges, but we do pretty well with.
I'm laughing a little bit at Talbot.
Oh yeah, Talbot had he took a little bit of an aggressive approach.
A little bit
Which
extra
surprised
water.
me because he's such a cautious person. Yeah. But yes, it happens. So I think I'm at about 6. And it's probably going to be sort of good. So with soapy hands, I just gently want to begin making sure my water is reaching all the fibers. And start to get the fibers on top to come together. Oh, I still need more. Well, I'm going over the edge a little bit here on the left, but the right is definitely dry, and the top and the bottom are a little dry. Some fiber will come up, it wants to like come up through the wall, which is really interesting to me. I don't even understand how that happens, but it always does. All right. So with your whole palm, it's like a gentle massage at this point. I think too much pressure too fast can move things around. Will you please, there's some extra towels over there, and I could use it on the left here.
Oh. We're about to drip. Into a bag of fiber.
Thanks. Maybe you can overdub some felting music. Is that a word?
Overdub?
Uh-huh. Did I just, what's... just made something up.
Overlay? I don't know. Overdub's a thing. Okay. Sure.
Okay, so at this point, I'm just starting to feel it kind of firm up a little bit under my hands. Trying to think of an analogy, but it's you can tell when it's no longer just like a big puffy smushy, and it starts to feel a little more solid. And that's the point where you want to carefully pull the voile up and just check it, make sure nothing's moved too much. So you're gonna have, I don't know if you can see this corner, it's gonna wanna stick. And you just kind of take your fingers and make sure that the fiber stays put as you pull this away.
It's already good and stuck for not too much yet.
It's pretty stuck so far. So if there's anything that's terribly out of line, I don't see anything too bad. can just shore that up. Kind of like it. Kind of like it. This might be the best one.
That's good.
Fourth time's a charm. I shouldn't speak too soon. Okay, I'm gonna put this back down. I don't know.
The sky is very different.
Yeah, I like the sky.
It's a lot moodier.
Seem to be afraid of wet felting. I can get not liking it.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can't. Well, I've had a lot of failures. I shouldn't say you can't not succeed. But I was experimenting. Like, I was, like, doing things that I didn't know how to do. And I was, you know, trying, like, making the stockings. And, you know, trying different fibers.
I think a lot of people were successful with the hummingbird.
Oh, the hummingbird went really well. But once you get to this point, like, you can't mess this up, really. Like, it's just... You're just making the fibers stick together. And it does that. It does this thing.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. That's where, you know, like I said, I can get not liking it. But
it feels a little scary. You put a lot of time into it, yet nothing was tacked down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to give this another few minutes just from the top with my hands. And then we will start rolling. And the reason I don't want to start rolling just yet is just to make sure that my design and, you know, these more individual, like, delicate pieces that are on here are really becoming one before I'm, like, you know, just smushing it all around. Okay, we're ready to roll. So you need your pool noodle. Lately, I have not been using the ties, but that's up to you. So you want your voile and your hole. This is not quite wet enough yet, but I'm counting on it getting wet as I squeeze the water in this rolling process, which it will, but so from this bubble wrap up, you're wrapping the entire thing around the pool noodle.
Do not wrap the towel in it.
Do not wrap the towel in it. However, once that's all secure, I pull this back towards me and I use the towel as the tie. So that's what keeps it all together. What?
Well, it's bouncing because the camera's on the table. You're using the table. We will not make you all motion
You don't have
sick.
to watch this, but I'm gonna go 75 this direction. And then we'll show unrolling it and turning it, but we want to go from each of the 4 sides. Start the pool noodle, so you rotate the piece so that the pool noodles.
Now this is good. If you choose the fox's feet, the fox's nose, the fox's head, the fox's back.
But, yep. And then 2 of those times, I want to turn it over so that flat mat's on top, so that you're working flat mat together with the felted piece. So I'm going to roll this 75 times.
And go, people.
Thought of something.
Okay, 75. Okay. That was fast.
Yes, it was fast. Okay, so I'm going to unroll. Every once in a while, you'll get things a little turned around, but you'll figure it out. So it's funny how, so we were saying Talbot was a little aggressive, and he rolled, and his fox like shrunk. So that's why you go from every direction, because it shrinks and felts in the direction that you're rolling. So like I said, I want to go from the flat mat side, and then I also want to turn so that I'm coming from the nose. We did from the bottom. So I'm just going to pick the whole thing up. Turn it like, I got to turn it like
the same.
This, because my piece isn't exactly square. I swear these flat mats are bigger than 22 by 22. So I have to turn it this way. And I realize that's probably a little confusing, but I kept track.
I get lost every time. No voile or voile.
Oh yeah, thank you. I went and reached for it and then... Okay. This away.
What a fun way to get a little workout.
75.
I complain every time, but we're gonna do a positive spin.
So I did all my times.
All 4 directions, you did 2 flips back and forth.
And I'm just giving it a little pinch test. It's pretty good. Definitely the locks are always going to be a little bit unstuck. But I do want to go another time, and I think I'm going to go from this way. I want to get them felted together this way. So I'm going to go again, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it like 100. Like just, you know, try and finalize it by doing a little bit more. And then we'll check again. Okay, I did my additional.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like his little, I think it's good. I think it's good. So the process now is to take it to the sink, and then using very hot water and then very cold water, I rinse and squish it about, I do that switch 4 times. So we'll do that. And it's hot, hot, hot.
How are you feeling?
Hot, hot, hot.
Ooh, wonder if you'll get the camera wet.
Cold. So the hot and cold, I'm told, the heat kind of opens up the fibers, and then the cold locks them back down again, and sort of further felts and folds up fibers together. Plus you gotta rinse the soap out.
Pretty simple. You're not being delicate with it.
No, that should do. So back in the, it's like
Back in the depths.
We have a spinner, so I'm just gonna throw that in there. It's very satisfying when it's balanced.
Look at that.
I know.
Whenever I wet felt at home, I'm like, where's the spinner?
And if you don't have a spinner, you're gonna wring it out as well as you can and then roll it in a towel.
And it still takes a lot longer to dry.
Yeah.
That's it, the laundry alternative. Very cool.
That looks good. So this is it, just out of the spinner. Pretty happy with it. I definitely have some loose spots. You can kind of stretch it and get it shaped the way you want it to. It'll dry that way. And then when it's dry, we will needle felt some details.